ahead and proceed. So we'll go to tab 1. I'll call the meeting of the Board of Investments to order. Actually, notice to everybody that I'm sure people are aware of, but it is a recorded meeting. And so keep that in mind. And Savannah, if you're way ahead of us too, could you call the roll?
I'm running to catch up with you. Good morning, Mr. Chair and members of the board. Jack Prothrow.
Here.
Cindy Youngkin.
Here.
Porter Bennett.
Here.
Tim Kober.
Here.
Maggie Peterson.
Here.
Mark Berry.
Here.
Jeff Meredith.
Here.
Dan Trost is absent. Wayne Iverson.
Present.
And Senator Jeremy Trebus, which I do not see online. So, all right, we do have a quorum. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay, thank
Did
you.
get Porter? Yeah. Okay.
I got Porter. Thank you.
Okay, so just a notice to you guys that are online, sometimes I'm not very good at seeing what you're doing there. So be sure if you have any questions or comments, don't hesitate to interrupt and just let us proceed with you doing that. So I want to encourage you to do that if you have anything to add for us. Based on what you just said then, Dan, do you want to go to tab 2?
Let's do tab 3.
Let's do tab 3.
Good morning. Good morning, everybody. Go Grizz.
All right.
Had to say it. So we'll review the commercial and residential loan portfolios. The participation loan program has an outstanding balance as of October 31st of a little over 108 million. That's 46 loans with a yield of 2.69%. We currently have 2 loan reservations totaling a little over $7 million and 4 committed loans, a little over $5 million, and no past due loans. Infrastructure loan program has an outstanding balance a little over 8.6 million, 7 loans, and the return is 4.05%. We do have 1 loan reservation, a little over 2.7 million, and there are no past due loans. The intermediary relending program has an outstanding balance of almost 5.6 million. That's 39 loans, and the yield is always 2% on that program. We have 1 loan committed, that's for $250,000 and no past due loans. The science and tech portfolio has a balance of a little over 7.7 million. There's 2 loans there with a yield of 2.74% and no past due. Montana Facility Finance Authority has a balance of a little over 9.6 million. There's 14 loans. The yield is 2.57. There is 1 loan reservation for 1.5 million, and there's no past due loans. And the Veterans Home Loan Program loan balance is a little over 48 million. There's 278 loans. The yield on that program is 1.93%. There's 2 reservations totaling 695,000. There's 7 loans over 90 days past due totaling a little over 1.2 million or 2.48% of the portfolio.
These are backed by
Either VA or FHA.
Okay.
The multifamily coal trust program has a balance of a little over 12 million, represents 6 loans, and the yield is 2.32. There is 1 reservation totaling a little over 1.9 million, and there's no past due loans.
Doug, quickly on that one, the new $50 million that was available in July,
Any reservations or anything against that new number?
Yes, I just got the number from the Board of Housing. And out of that 50 million, I think, this is rough, 36 million is reserved. So the next report that you'll see from me will show two different yields because there's a yield requirement on the new $50 million money. And actually any money going forward that's reserved will have to meet the yield requirement.
Is that by legislature, the yield requirement?
So the residential loan portfolio, that's all right, reflected a balance of little over 1.2 million. There's 37 loans and the yield is 6.3%. No outstanding reservations. There's 2 loans over 90 days past due totaling almost $50,000 or 4.12% of the portfolio. Both of those loans do have FHA guarantees on them. This is a very seasoned portfolio, by the way, so the risk of loss on this is very, very minimal. And then finally, the Montana Down Payment Assistance Program has an outstanding balance of a little over 46 million. There's 87 loans, 5 loans committed, totaling 2.5 million that will be funded by at least January. Those will be funded, so.
Doug, all of these programs have maximums, right, that we can,
Yeah, in one way or another. The participation loan program is a maximum of 25% of the coal tax portfolio, but we can go above that if the need arises. We're not bumping up against that, but the other ones do have a allocation.
So to follow up a little on that, like the science and tech thing, those are old loans. When are those gonna pay off? Is still a long-term thing?
Your
Good
next
question on that.
executive director will be,
There's 2 loans, and the biggest one is to Montana State University system, I believe. And I don't know.
MSU.
MSU. And I don't know the maturity date, but I know it's out there a ways. I can get that for you.
No, I just wanted to see if
these are,
gonna anything's rolling off, and then that won't be anything going forward, right?
these are 2 that I've talked with the budget office about potentially paying off with the debt-free account. It's to Tech and MSU. U of M, you may recall a couple of years ago with the great scoop and chuck of 2020. They refinanced all their debt and took out their science and tech allocation.
Are they looking to positively do that, do you think? Governor's office.
It depends on how mad they are at the regions from day to day.
That's a good answer.
Yeah.
But each of these programs are specifically done by the legislature, right?
No, so down payment assistance was ARPA funds, direction from the governor. Residential loan is authorized by the legislature, but a board decision. Multifamily coal trust is the legislature, and we don't have a choice. Veterans home loan is legislature, we don't have a choice. MFFA authorized by the legislature, but the board can choose to participate. Science and tech we inherited from the old economic development bond program in the late 80s. IRP, legislature is authorized, board can choose to participate. Infrastructure loan authorized by the legislature, board can choose to participate. And participation authorized by the legislature, board can choose to participate.
Good.
So all the ones with the high yields are yours, all the ones with the low yields are the legislature's.
But I think that's critical because we don't want to be criticized why we're not earning more when they tell us what we can earn, so. Doug, just a general one, if there's no other questions. Just what do you see in the economic environment in dealing with some of your banker friends?
Well, as far as reservations, it's slowed down. I'm getting calls from lenders, but obviously with interest rates as high as they are, I think everyone is slowing down, and this is typically a slow time of the year too for lenders, the winter months. The spring and summer and fall are usually typically busier. But I think interest rates are impacting the lending out there.
Okay. Any other questions for Doug? Seeing none, thank you, Doug.
Thank you.
Louise, see, you're gonna be going home early today, maybe.
That's good news, probably more for you than me. Okay, so the InterCap program, we have the activity summary and the staff report for the first quarter. And just a little bit, within the first quarter, we had one of our two main repayment times is August 15th. And within that time period, board staff processed 200 schedules. And past due of that was there were 6 borrowers, 7 schedules, that they were collected, all but one were collected before the 30 days came up. And the one that was a little bit longer than that, they were actually waiting for their board to approve a payoff. So that one it was all cleaned up and no past dues, no losses, no defaults, that sort of thing, as of the September 18th, I believe. Yeah, so within this quarter, you can see that we are still at the same amount with our bond series that's in the STIP program. The amount outstanding within this quarter, outstanding for loans almost matches that. So that's a good sign, that's a good thing. Pending commitments, 23.9, so we have that money that's still out there. So why is this information necessary? Because we have that bond, we have up to 120 million that we can advance there. So we are well within that and the program is doing well. So as of this end of September, we had 129 borrowers. We have 233 schedules and there's about 78% of that is auto pay. So we're slowly getting them over. Now we have some holdouts. There's about 52 schedules that could, if they just hang in there, they could be that way until 2036. So my 30 years is 2030. So you might have a couple of schedules after I'm gone. Who knows?
ERS called, they lost your paperwork.
Okay. I can't get paroled from this job. Awesome. So, okay, I'm sorry about that. Looking forward, we did have some more higher demand on the program. In November, we actually made an advance on our bond, about 2 million, so that we could fund some loans. Looking forward from that, there is the DNRC always does some pay downs generally in January, so they're about 2.8. We have our other payment period in February. We're looking at over 6 million is coming in on repayments there. So at that point, as soon as I receive those monies in, I do plan on paying down that bond, or at least the 2 million that we borrowed for that. Another thing that we're looking at here on this particular page is you see the commitments and the funding as of fiscal year 2024. In comparison to last fiscal year, this time of year, our commitments and fundings are up. So we're seeing a little more activity for the program. And I think it is because of higher interest rates out there with the banks. I've been hearing that someone was trying to finance an ambulance. It was a used ambulance, and they were going to give them a 10% interest on that. And so I think the InterCap program is really going to start to shine again, especially with things still need to be done, and equipment needs to be replaced. So we might see some more activity with InterCap. So is there any questions on the activity summary?
I have a question. So the one payment that was late, do they give a grace period or do you continue to accrue interest? I mean, how does that work?
We can apply a 2% penalty on top of the interest rate. Now, have we done that? No, we have not done that yet. So no.
But it paid off in full, right?
Yes, it
Yeah.
paid in full.
So
So you feel better about it, but in that case.
and we knew that they were gonna pay off in
Yes,
full.
yes,
So
we
it
were
was,
just waiting for it, basically.
I just know that some loans have like grace periods, like a 10, 15-day grace period.
maybe just FYI for the board, that 0.25% auto pay to get the manuals was good. I would expect a higher recommendation from your staff next year to try to get those last 52 over.
You mean more incentive for the,
More incentive for them to find
okay.
their way to auto pay.
So what's the big holdout? Is it just cash flow? Is that?
No, I think it's just they like control of
Writing
the
the check.
situation.
It's interesting, my daughter's mayor of Sunburst, she was complaining about the 5.75 rate. So I said, you want to give back your STIP rate?
Yeah.
And she says, I won't complain.
Thank you.
Okay.
So speaking of that, Louise, you, when you go to revise, and this is February back, but, is there pressure to raise that rate or is there, or you think there'll be some relief on that 6%?
Well, that's going to be dependent on the market,
Yeah.
because our bond is going to be based on that 1-year treasury
Right.
midpoint. Plus, we could put a 1.5 on top of it if we need to, which generally we don't. So watch that 1-year treasury, that'll tell you where we're headed. I think I just did it, looked at it today, it was like 5.123 or something like that. And the bond right now is at 5.069, so if we go up, I'm hoping it's just gonna be a little bit. But we'll see what the market does in February.
Other questions for Louise? Seeing none, thank you, Louise, good job. So Dan,
Go to tab 2.
go to tab 2.
All right, no requests from the prior meeting. You have the monthly snapshot. We don't have this November yet, but as soon as we do, you'll get it. You have our annual LPAC report, so we're required to report to the board what travel and participation is covered by our limited partner advisory committee assignments and which staff members do that. So you have that report. You also have the securities litigation annual review in front of you, as well as our investment vendors who has been added to the approved list and who has been removed from the approved list. So we do this each year, both as an internal control and it's an internal control. Make sure that you have transparency into what travel is supported by outside entities. Not that we're not paying for it, because it's our money anyway, but good to know where. And then the securities litigation, reminder to the board, we don't typically act as lead plaintiff. That's not something we seek. Some of your peers across the country seek that status and really thrive on it. I'd rather let them do it and we get the recoveries as opposed to our staff time and our abilities chasing that. So we participate as a part of a class, but we don't actively seek it. And then resolution 217, again, this is I guess it's now policy 10.217. This just gives you the update of who is new and who is out as far as vendors.
There's nothing in the litigation that's got any big impact to us at all, is there?
It's nothing direct. It's somebody, there was an insider trading or there was a class action of lawsuit. We owned shares at the time that the event happened, so we would get some portion of the
But the
recovery.
majority of it's just their ongoing business expenses,
Yep.
somebody's suing them.
Yep, exactly.
That's just part of their game.
Yep.
Some of these reports, though, are individual. They probably could be in the audit committee, but they rose to the occasion that other entities had problems in the past, like with travel and things like that. And so this is just to assure that the board has specific information and where it was spent and by who, a good double check. The securities litigation, a lot of times our lawyers on the board want to know how come they don't get to participate with that, but I think most of them don't want to do that. But anyway, that's again, a double check. And then that authorization, at least to me, the most important part of that is we do take off some managers that are no longer authorized to do business, which I think is an important double check on our audit function. So with that, we don't need any resolutions or anything. Mark?
I have a question, and a comment. First on the audit committee charter says that if we do take lead on litigation, it has to be approved by the audit committee, so, keep it away from us.
Happy to do so.
And then on the authorizations, the new authorizations, a lot of these are repeat, right? They're not
Correct.
brand
They're
new,
new.
right?
So these would be new funds with
Right.
existing managers,
Okay.
re-ups.
Okay. And the primary reason for removing these three at the bottom is because why? Can you just give me an idea?
Our investment time period, we were invested in an earlier fund and it just ran out. So the 01, 03, we got paid off and they're done.
Okay, all right.
Good questions.
Any other questions for Dan on that? Dan?
So then why don't we move to this, the PowerPoint slide deck that says House Bill 819 update.
This.
It would be part of the big packet that was sent out. I emailed the PowerPoint and Savannah emailed the draft agenda and information materials for next Thursday's conversation around workforce housing. Start with the PowerPoint, first page. Page 2 is just what the bill did. Page 3 is a update or just a walkthrough of the programs. You're all familiar with these. This was more for the legislature. Page 4 is where I show one project that's coming to us. Again, estimates of how the program works. So you have a project cost of this is for the revolving bond program. This is a project Louise is working with. You can see there the project cost, the market sale, and 50% of that bond being purchased by BOI, what that annual debt service would be at their respective interest rates, and what the total financing costs would be. So on that $5.7 million bond, under the Homes Act, the bond program, they'd pay $2.6 million back over the 20 years. Whereas if they were just to do a straight market sale, they'd pay $4.3 million back. So we're saving them, $1.6 million on that $5.7 million project with the Homes bill as it's structured. The page 5 is how the linked deposit program is working. The project cost is $3.6 million. The original rate that the project was quoted was $8 million. You can see that annual debt service. You can see the 5% linked deposit rate that they'll be paying at 3.6. So they'll save about $57,000 on that 2-year note, or just about 40% of their financing costs will be reduced. So
What did you say? Okay, the project cost is 3.6. Where did you get the 8 million? You mentioned 8 million?
8%.
8%.
The original,
Okay, I'm
the
sorry.
original rate is 8%.
Got it,
And then
okay.
we're financing at 5%.
And what percentage were we financing?
We're at 5%.
5%?
Yep.
No, the rate is 5%.
Correct, yeah. So the rate is 8% for the that they were quoted.
But now
We're
it's gonna be
financing it at
5%.
8%. Yep.
Okay, all right.
And then if you turn to page 6, you can see this is where the linked deposit money is going and how many units. Great uptake, 1,213 affordable units will be built with these funds. This is page 6.
Is this just in the linked deposit?
This is
program?
just linked
Just
deposit
linked
program.
deposit, okay.
We'll save over the 24 months about $3.3 million in interest expense for these projects. You notice in the far right column, homes versus debt-free, we actually ran out of homes money. So I had to go grab some of the debt-free money that the governor's office allocated for that Libby project, the last $6 million on Libby. It's debt-free money, but it meets the criteria of homes relative to affordability. Anything that's homes is a low-income housing tax credit project that we were able to participate in. Any questions on link deposit? Yes, sir.
Just out of curiosity, is there any estimate of, I mean, this is 1,213 units, okay. Is there any estimate of what the shortage of housing units is statewide?
Not that I know of, no.
Okay,
It's huge though.
well, yeah, that's just it. I mean, 1,200 is probably just a drop in the bucket for what the need is.
It may be. I go the other way of, this is 1,213 that particularly in this interest rate environment, some of these were high centered, some we were able to get them over the finish line. Some of these, they were trimming back amenities, they were trimming back units that would be affordable to market rates in order to make the math work,
Right.
and our participation saved them. So
Okay.
we're not gonna be a cure, but we can certainly be a treatment for the problem.
Okay, another question I have, so looking at the list, well, okay, Lewistown is just approved, and this big company is coming in from Germany. But they're estimating 500, up to 500 employees for the units, but they're still gonna struggle with meeting that need, but that's.
But we're here to help on the 116 that we've got in the pipeline.
Yeah, yeah. But I do notice that, towns such as, well, let's just pull one out, Helena are not on this list. So is this a first in?
Yes.
Okay,
And we saved 53 million for next year so that we can have the rolling 24 months. And there's 53 million both to service the bond program need, because the statute says the bond program and the loan program eat first. So we kept some money there based on conversations with bond counsel, things that we think may come through the door. But in the worst case, if we don't have that pipeline filled up, we'll have funds available for next construction season and link deposit.
But I like that it's sort of spread out.
yeah,
But a lot of this, who got what, is determined by what banker wanted to work with us.
Kalispell was aggressive. Look at these Butte ones, so is that really just a single unit?
So that is a single unit that is a remodel on a 12-plex. It's one building. That is the National Alliance, National Affordable Housing Network. That's Habitat for Humanity in Butte.
Yes, that's what I was looking at these Butte ones, what the heck?
All right, if no other questions on link deposit, move into the fun stuff. Workforce housing, you can see the review I gave to the legislature. I guess at this point, I'll be talking from the memorandum that we sent out with the agenda. The materials in the PowerPoint is backup. That's sort of what the legislature gets. You guys get the nitty-gritty details of all of it. So the memorandum on the first page covers sort of the write-up, the two-pronged approach to the problem of helping Warm Springs and the prison fulfill their not only workforce housing shortage, but their recruitment and retention problem. The short-term solution is to build phase one of a 28-unit workforce housing facility in Deer Lodge. How do I best describe it? The state owns 11 acres on the southern end of the city. It was an absolute nightmare trying to coordinate the Department of Transportation, Department of Natural Resources, Department of Environmental Quality, and the Department of Corrections to get that land buildable. So working with the city, we were able to identify other lands that could be used for this purpose. The municipal water well is actually on the land the state owns, but there's no easement. So we'll kind of clean up some problems for both sides by facilitating this land transfer and putting land that doesn't have a use, that is state land, into use in the city. Project costs, working with Corner Post General Contracting, which to Rob's credit, he put them through the same due diligence we would put a real estate manager through, because that is the lens we approach this. This is an investment. This is not your general state procurement act type stuff. Board of Investments and our investment portfolio and any investments we make are outside of that section of code. So we approached it as what managers are in the area that we can work with, and do they pass our due diligence underwriting requirements, which Corner Post and Lynn Hicks out of Bozeman did. We negotiated the $8.1 million for the construction, and then $742,000 for road and sewer installation. He will cover the water installation, the main trunk lines. On that $742,000, we'll have a latecomer fee. We'll negotiate with the city that anyone else who hooks up to that, including Lynn, will pay back a proportional share of what our costs were. Water system, we will not pay into a latecomer fee onto the water system, but anyone else that hooks up will, and Lynn will recover those funds. So the total project cost of 8.846 prior to any investment income that we'd have on the $12 million, and separately any latecomer fees that we would receive back, which is accounted for in the pro forma on later pages. Change literally from yesterday. Lynn was very nervous about timber prices rising, which over the last several years is understandable. We changed it from a reopener that if there's a spike in timber prices, we couldn't really agree on a good publicly available benchmark. There's the Boise Cascade that's available for lumber yards that they get a weekly spreadsheet on. We don't get that, so we'd be relying on something that's not necessarily publicly available. So what we did is we agreed that if there's a reduction in his margins of over 6% due to cost overruns, he could come to us, show where those costs were, and we'd take a look at the contract at that point. But it's not an automatic, well, timber prices spiked, it's a reopener. That doesn't take into account roofing, cement, asphalt, any of the other stuff that goes in. But on the totality of the 8.1, if there's a shrinkage in his margins of more than 6%, then we'll talk. So I think it's more protective for the board that we're not tied to one type of input to reopen the whole contract.
Where would the money come from at that point? If it's-
So we have $12 million allocated, and we're only proposing to spend the 8.8.
Okay.
I'm surprised he'd agree to that.
We're proposing an initial monthly rent of $760.36. That's based on the psych tech salaries at Montana State Hospital. So they would have enough funds. This is sort of that banker, third of your gross can go toward your housing costs. We use that as the metric to establish this. You have the floor plan, a draft floor plan that will change, as I mentioned earlier. A lot of the guys at the prison drive F-350s, and their garage is currently sized, doesn't fit an F-350. So we'll have to take some of that stuff out. And then we did email Cindy and Porter and Jeff. I don't know if you received it. I think you should have received it. The new draft site plan email, we got that last night. It went out in email today. That has already changed again. It's back with the architects. The employee profile shows that there's not a lot of need for children's parks or such space, given that most of these are singles with no dependents and no spouses. according to the employee profile, and the fact that there's a giant city park immediately next door. So between those two factors, I don't want to spend a lot of money on playground equipment and the like. The long-term fix with the extra funds we talked about, we're proposing to spend 8.8 with recoveries and investment income to shrink that total number. That if they stay with the state for 5 years and they make that commitment to Montana State Hospital or Montana State Prison, excuse me, we would then open up $30,000, 0% 20-year notes for them to go find permanent housing. So we will be the short-term fix to help them do the recruitment, and then we will not service 63 individual $30,000 notes over 20 years. We'd be looking to the Board of Housing to do residential mortgage servicing like we do with our existing residential mortgage portfolio. But that becomes the long-term retention piece for the two individual entities.
So after 5 years, they get $30,000.
After 5-year participation note, not $30,000 that they can go say they're gonna buy a house, but it's a participation note on permanent housing.
And it wouldn't be one of these units?
It would not be one of these units. So these units would then spin over to the next batch of folks.
Is the assumption they would stay in the Deer Lodge area, or it doesn't matter?
Under the statute, in order to use these dollars, they'd have to stay in either Deer Lodge or Powell counties.
So that when you look at the numbers for the developer and he's renting those houses, what kind of percentage are they putting in for repairs? Cause you got a turnover that's
So
pretty rapid.
these will be BOI facilities. And if you look at, so that's a great segue into the pro forma.
But before you go there, Dan.
Yep.
That last sentence, these notes would be made available to employees who remain employed as long as the employee continues with their state service for 20 years. So are you talking in order, I don't understand that sentence, I guess.
If you leave state service and you have an outstanding
The
loan,
30,000.
you have to pay that back.
Okay, that's what I wanted to make sure that
Yep.
what it was really saying. I thought,
Yep.
are you kidding? So that's an incentive, further incentives to stay employed. Okay. Sorry,
You can
go
see the
ahead.
cost breakdown of the individual units on attachment A. Pro forma, so this starts getting into, and special thanks to Tim. It was so nice to sit down with my college professor to go over accounting numbers. It was just a real kick in the pants to call those days back.
So Tim, did he get a grade on this?
He was one of the ones he failed.
Yeah.
Personal information.
So you're looking at attachment B right now?
So I'm looking at attachment B. So this is where we took into account the interest income available for operations and then any sort of tenant damage. So those are just security deposit and any pet deposit on a per unit per monthly basis. Administrative and admin expenses, these are our indirect costs. So on a $12 million fund, are just using our current cost allocation methodology, we charge $3,400 for that. Management fee, I prorated this, working with Peg, what we pay our current management company for the Colonial Park, Ninth, TRS, and Boot Hill facilities we owe in Helena and Bozeman, prorated out to $50,000. We're not in the rent collecting business. We're not in the mowing lawn business. We'll contract all of that out to someone else.
Which needs to be determined, right?
Correct.
Okay.
And would very likely be in coordination with Lynn. So the parcel immediately to the west of the parcel I showed you is his, and he will be developing 300 units on that parcel. So I very likely see as part of a public-private partnership, us going out for joint property management. Electricity will be paid by the tenant, we'll cover the water. City of Deer Lodge has a highly transparent website. You can see every fee you're gonna pay all the time. So it was great to be able to pull. Employee or the tenant pays the gas bill, sewer, again, pulled directly from the website. Trash removal, that's pulled from the website. The management fee on operation and maintenance expenses. Part of the reason why this works so well is there's no property taxes assessed on this because we're a state entity. Permits, those are the construction permits required. Property and liability insurance, that's from risk management and tort defense. So in part answer to your question, Dwayne, if there is damage, we have insurance covering the parcel and the properties through the state system. And we just get a flat assessment and they pay us back. But we also built in, as part of this, the second page that I'll walk you through, $400 per month for just general replacements, sort of, as Maggie can attest, when you have these rentals, you've got to build in a certain portion of your revenue just to refresh them over time.
Everyone's gonna own the property.
We're gonna own the property, correct?
Yeah, okay, like my limited experience in residential rental property has not been good. Okay, and I bought a house for my son here in town, little old lady living in it. And stuff, paid her rent on time, the whole bit. Unauthorized tenant, her son gets out of prison, moves in. 6 months later, he fails his drug test and said it was because there's meth in the house. Okay, had there been a meth lab, I'd have to tear the house down. And so that's what I'm concerned about, that type of risk, because insurance doesn't cover that.
It never will.
Your insurance, we're self-insured as a state.
Okay, so they would cover it.
And what's more, we have the prison guards in our, the only people that will be eligible to move into these facilities are prison guards who are regularly drug tested and psych techs who are regularly drug tested. So we sort of get the creme de la creme of the valley of who's going to be accountable for those exact instances.
Yeah, our experience in Shelby with rental to people working at the prison there is tremendous damage to the rental properties. And they're highly transit, they're there for a year to 2 years. When they move out, you got a lot of cost of refurbishing the property. That's where my concerns are coming from.
Yep, and I think the fact that we built in that, let's just call it what it is, golden handcuffs. That if you stay with the state for 5 years, you not only get a defined benefit pension, but now you get $30,000 towards your home at 0%. And that is at least from my perspective, knowing a lot of these folks, they were my old constituents when I was in the House, that's gonna be a huge incentive for them to not screw up. If they do, we'll have a property manager on site. I'm not sending Putnam down there with the Sawzall. That's how bad things happen. But I think it's a different layer than what our commercial experience is, which has its own challenges. But I think from a residential perspective, the legislature gave us the 12 million. I can't find and that's sort of spoken to in the PowerPoint. You have $350,000 purchase prices on 2-bedroom, 1-bath that's smaller than what these will be.
In Deer Lodge.
In Deer Lodge. These folks can't afford it. These psych tech, $39,000 a year salaries, they just can't afford that market. And we're stepping in to fill that void. And
Well, and your
yep.
cost is probably pretty accurate at 317,000 a unit. That's probably about what it'll cost.
That's quite a bit less than it would be in Great Falls.
We'll come in right around $203 a square foot. And that was,
Yeah, your projection was a little higher than that.
so this is assuming, so that's the number if you look at,
225.
so if you look at these
Then
sheets.
you get the reductions, yeah.
Yep.
I look at without that to see if the
Right.
number's realistic.
The
And you
the
got
good news
zero land
is,
cost, that's the thing saving you.
the zero land cost, the no property taxes, the return on our cash is, and then the infrastructure costs and the latecomer fees. Those are
So
the.
because it's state-owned is why you don't end up with property tax?
Correct.
But you will have property, you'll have assessments.
You'll have
for fire
assessments.
and, police and all that sort of thing, right?
Which would be paid out of that 50,000. So
Don't
for
you end up
the,
with beneficiary use tax?
how would we be subject to that?
That would be, the tenant would be subject to it. When you rent, okay, in a commercial office space, okay? You rent space from a county or city, you get assessed as the tenant for what that tax should be.
Only if there is if that's the use, but that's commercial, not residential. And the second piece is we're charging market rents so that there won't be any W-2 implications on that employee. So that was the other piece trying to navigate and why we went with $30,000 0% loans as opposed to some sort of cash down payment. That would have been taxable income to that employee, and the incentive would have been cut by a third instantly. So we went with the loan route so that there isn't tax implications on that. So beneficial use, White's on, former chief legal counsel for the Department of Revenue, look at it, but I don't think it'll apply in this case.
Okay.
Um,
State hasn't been very aggressive at that. I'm afraid they're gonna do it one of these days.
Well, don't tell them on the camera to do it. You can see there on the second few pages of a tab or attachment B, the 20-year projected cash flows. This includes investment income. You can see our estimates for yield and STIP for holding that cash, rental incomes, and our expenses reflected. Going from about 3.6 million in year 1, year 20 to about 7.9 in cash. And that includes funding individual 28 note unit or 28 $30,000 notes every 5 years for every tenant. So if someone only stays 2 years, it'll be net positive to our bottom line, but I wanted to show the most aggressive version I could of cash flows out.
Is this cold trust funds then being funded, or how's it being funded?
General fund appropriation to the board, and we will use that to make the investment in the property. So it'll be a real estate.
General
building.
fund from the state?
Yes.
Okay.
So then it comes to the board and then it becomes trust fund money or in the trust fund investment pool or where?
No, it is, right now it's set up as a separately managed account,
Okay,
and it will hold real estate.
okay. So we can grow that.
Correct.
I think one of the key things is I'm always worried about us taking on jobs that we don't have the staff to do or things like that. And I think the way Dan has got this set up, working with Board of Housing and other entities, that it should work without us having to hire additional staff or anything. Is that a or not? I don't know, want to promise, but is that how you intend this to work?
I will promise you that I'm not asking for any FTE for this program. If I'm asking for FTE, it's not gonna be on a $12 million program, it's gonna be on a $2 billion private investments portfolio or a real estate portfolio. This is one that I think we have our core competencies, putting together financing packages, handling real estate, I would say is one of two of the board's core competencies. We're gonna do that. And then we're gonna do what we do with our existing real estate portfolio. We're gonna turn it over to somebody else to manage. And that's gonna be the gist of it. We'll have to intervene, as you do with any asset we own. We have to deal with the buildings we own around Helena and Bozeman. We have to deal with the managers who decide to let someone else's yacht flow free in Chesapeake Bay and wreck another bunch of yachts, but we'll have to manage this. I will say there's no scenario under which I'm gonna bring an FTE request to you for this.
So it looks to me like we're becoming the property manager for the state, where normally like this type of thing probably been the Department of Administration before, right?
The Department of there is zero chance the Department of Administration could have gotten this up and running,
I agree that
Inside
you
of
get it up
4
and
years.
running. But I
and that's
mean-
why the legislature gave it to us.
But I mean, it's what you've done with the ARPA funds and all that type of stuff is why it's coming through here.
Yep.
But I mean, you can see where they've changed to where we don't have the bureaucracy
Correct.
in some other areas, and so therefore we're becoming that link to the state government.
So I think, Dan, the way this works is, we've gone over this, so we have to have that special meeting for notices, what we're gonna make a decision on. But hopefully you've covered enough and there'll be a chance for additional questions then.
Yeah, I have one question. So on attachment C, so the property that's going to be developed has the blue.
No, that's the state property that we're gonna swap.
Okay, so we're gonna more towards the west side of the.
Correct. So if you look at the east side of I-90, the big chunk of land adjacent to the red circle is where Corner Post is gonna do their large development. We're the 6.9 acres inside that circle,
The larger circle.
the smaller circle.
The
So
smaller
this,
circle.
so the blue outline below is the state
That's the
land
state land that's being swapped.
that's being swapped for the little
The
circle.
little circle.
And the water, sewer, and road will come through the little circle to make access for full development of the big.
And Corner
parcel.
Post owns property to the west of that.
Correct, that's all, that big block is all theirs, and that's what they're gonna develop.
Okay.
So Deer Lodge is gonna get two bonuses. One, we'll have the workforce housing on our land, but there'll also be, it'll open up additional development for market housing on the other side of us.
That's the other side of you to the, what would be the east, right?
It would be the east, correct?
Okay. Then that's where the property manager's gonna be developing too.
Exactly. He's gonna need a property manager. I would bet that we will do a joint contract for property management on his parcels and ours. But we've got a lot of daylight between getting to that phase.
Yeah.
So if you have any questions over the course of the next week, call me, happy to sit down. This is newish. Thank you, House Bill 819, but I'm happy to answer any, walk you through it. I'll get the architectural renderings out as we get them in. And if you have any thoughts or input, let me know.
So Mark requested that we have that special board meeting still on the 21st, but at 1:30 instead of at 10. Is that okay, especially with you guys online?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay,
Cindy nodded.
Cindy nodded, so.
That's fine.
That works
for I just have one question, Dan, what is the size of if it's in your report, I didn't see it, but what is the size of the parcel that would acquire from the city?
6.9 acres.
And we're giving them
Thereabouts.
11
We still
acres?
have to do the survey.
But they're getting 11 acres? The city's getting 11 acres?
Correct. And that will be an issue that we'll have to work through of what's the we gotta get two appraisals, right? So for our piece, we're going to have to get an appraisal on the 11. They're gonna have to get the appraisal and a survey on the 6.9 to facilitate the trade. I don't know how that's gonna come out. I wish I could say that 11 acres on the south end was worth 6.9 at the north. But given that DOT facility and the maintenance facility is right there, and there's the municipal well field that's gonna take out a bunch of the land. And of that 11 acres, there's a giant portion of it that's gonna be in the floodplain. I can't give you a good number on what that value will be. My gut is our 11 is gonna be slightly, if not, well, it'll be worth, I would bet that ours is worth more, whether slightly or substantially, I don't know. the city has raised the specter of impact fees and the like. And if they push that, then the difference between the appraised values will be our impact fees and we'll call it a day. But it's all gonna be up to somebody with a book of business that can go out there and tell us what they're worth, and we'll have to haggle with the city independent of it.
So did you say that there's part of the 11 acres is in a flood zone?
The far north portion is floodplain. That's part of why we walked away from that parcel. I couldn't get the maps from DNRC. I couldn't get whether or not the water needed to be chlorinated before it went to the plant from the wells to build the loop right on site. You'd have to put boreholes underneath that creek in order to get the water and sewer in. DOT didn't want to give us an access agreement because of safety concerns with the maintenance machines they've got there. So the city had a desire for the parcel and has to get an easement on it, which I'm not here to judge DOC, but they let them go out and drill these wells without an easement. And then they were gonna clean it up afterwards, so. But that's not our problem.
And so on the parcel that the state would acquire that's now owned by the city up off Aspen Lane, where is the wellhead on that property?
That's served by city sewer or city water.
So where's the wellhead you were talking about?
That's on the parcel that the city would acquire from the state. So that's that southern 11 acres at the far south portion of that parcel is where the city wells are.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
You bet.
Okay, so I hate to do this, but we're gonna start the board a little bit late, about 5 after or so. So let's take a short little break and be back to get started. Okay, so I'll call the meeting of the Board of Investments to order here. We've had our roll call. And again, notice of the video recording. First thing I want to do is ask for public comment on any issues with the board's jurisdiction. So there's no one in the room, but is there anybody online from the public that has any public comment?
We don't have any hands.
Seeing no hands, we can move on for there. The next step in our process is to approve the minutes of October 11th. Is there a motion to approve those?
So moved.
Is there a second? Moved in second. Any additions or corrections? If not, we'll vote on that. All those for approval of the public comments, please say aye.
Aye.
Or the minutes, not the public comment. We
I've
can,
got some comments on the public comment.
you're out of order.
Yeah.
So, motion to approve the minutes is approved unanimously. The next thing is administrative business. We had some work in the audit committee. So I'll turn this over again to Mark for some motions.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We had a busy day at the audit committee, a number of decisions that were made. We did go over the audit checklist. The auditors did complete their audit, came back in October and completed their field work and gave us a clean audit on our unified investment program statements and the enterprise fund statements for the year ended June 30th, 2023, with an opinion date of December 6th of this year. And those statements are not readily available to the public until the audit committee, the legislative audit committee, gets a chance to hear them publicly, which will occur either in their January meeting or their April meeting. Staff did go over those statements and a number of other things, but we made approvals on the audit committee charter review, which was reaffirming the charter review, which is required annually. We made approval of the annual statutory compliance checklist. We made approval of both of the financial statements, the UIP and the enterprise fund statements, and we made approval of the draft annual report. So the committee has approved those, Mr. Chairman. I don't know if you want to do those en masse or if you want to do those individually as a board.
Yeah, I think it requires full board, just so it's very clear in the minutes years from now or when everybody checks. Let's just do them individually, Mark, so
Okay,
if
all
you'd make those motions.
Okay, so Mr. Chairman, I would move, I'm gonna go in the order that we did it in the committee meeting.
Good.
So I would move approval for reaffirming the audit committee charter review.
I would second that, Mr. Chair.
Moved in second. Any questions? If not, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Hearing none, that's approved unanimously. I just comment that we're going through these at the full board level to double check the audit committee, double check Mark. But
You should, and it's called for.
it might sound like, because there's no questions, that we take these not as serious as we should, but there is a lot of questions in the audit committee, and we do take them seriously. And so I want that to be on the record too. So Mark, your second one.
The second one was approval of the annual statutory compliance checklist. This is the review by our staff of the laws that we are required to follow and make sure that we're in compliance with. The committee did approve those as well,
Okay.
and I would move those.
So that's moved. Is there a second?
Second.
Second, Dwayne. Any questions or comments? Hearing none, we'll call for the vote. All those in favor of the compliance checklist approval, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, that's approved unanimously. Mark?
Then we moved into the financial statements that have, as I said, the Legislative Audit Division has completed their audit of those statements and have issued a clean, unmodified audit opinion of those statements as of December 6th. The first one would be the Unified Investment Program financial statements for the year ended June 30th of 2023. I would move those.
You want to move them both, or?
I can move them both if that, okay. Then also I'd move the Enterprise Fund financial statements for the year ended June 30th of 2023 as well.
That's the motion. Is there a second?
I'll second that, Mr. Chair.
Second, again, we're approving both of those statements. Any other questions or comments? Hearing none, we'll call for a vote. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, that's approved unanimously.
And we also reviewed the annual report draft for the year ended 2023, June 30th, 2023, and approved the annual report for 2023 as well. And I would move the annual report.
Is there a second?
Second.
Moved in second. Any questions or comments? Hearing none, we'll call for a vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Hearing none, that's approved unanimously.
And that completed our workload for the day.
Okay, pretty busy. Thank you, Mark. Jeff, loan committee met. Do you have a report for us?
You bet. Yeah, the loan committee met earlier this morning. All members were present. Two of business on the agenda. First was an intercap loan request from Montana State University Billings, which involved the kind of rehab of a dormitory. It was a $1.8 million request, was approved by the committee. The next item of business was to discuss and approve the closure of the Conservation Reserve Enhancement Program. Program was put in place in 1990, and it allowed farmers in Montana to receive a lump sum payment by signing a Federal Conservation Reserve Program contract to the board. The program was successful over its duration. There was 270 loans totaling 33.6 million funded under this program. The last loan paid off in October of 2023, and based on what was discussed with us, there's no longer a need to continue with this program. Staff recommended and the committee approved to authorize the staff to repeal the administrative rule which created the program, and to authorize the staff to work with the escrow agent and trustee to take other necessary steps to discontinue the program.
Okay, so would you make a motion to do that, or is that your motion?
Yes, I would make a motion. This also requires approval from the full board, so I would make a motion to authorize staff to repeal the administrative rule and to work with the escrow agents, take the other necessary steps to close the program.
Okay, moved. Is there a second?
Second.
Second. Any other questions or comments? Hearing none, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Hearing none, that's approved unanimously. Anything else, Jeff?
That was the extent of our business. Thank you.
Thank you. The next thing we've got is comments from pension board members. Maggie, do you have any comment, or you wait for our lunch?
We have not met since our last board meeting, so they meet tomorrow. Well, they have a committee meeting tomorrow, and Thursday they have a full board meeting. And I will be missing that meeting because I will be in Las Vegas for work.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Okay, just kidding.
I'll give you a 5 while you throw it in the machine.
So,
Okay, all right. Well, thank you. And then that's all the reports we have from pension board members. And we have I don't see any legislative liaison.
Let's see. I knew we have nobody.
Okay, so we have no legislative liaison report. And so that concludes tab 1, I think. Dan, is there anything else there?
Do you want to do these now?
Yes.
So end of the year, we have a couple of folks who've been with the state or the board for a long time, and we're appreciative of their efforts and want to recognize them. So Brenda Thomas has been with the state for 15 years this year. Erin Crippen has been for 10 years. Savannah has been for 10 years. She'll say it feels like more. And Thomas has done his 5 years with the state. So, Mr. Chairman, thanks to the board for the opportunity to serve you all on behalf of these employees, and thanks to the employees for your dedicated service.
And I also would say from the board to the staff, we appreciate the hard work that all of you have done. All have done your work highly exemplary, and we appreciate your work. And one of the things that the board tries to do is have good morale here, and I think with that time frame that people are willing to stay with us shows that we do have good morale. So thank you. Any other comments from anybody? No. Okay. So tab 2 is executive director's report. Do you have anything to add to that?
Nope.
So we did tab 3. Doug's report has always been completed. Tab 4, Louisa's report has been completed. And so we're at tab 5, which is investment policy statements. John Ramasco will lead us through those.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Staff is requesting 2 changes to investment policy statements. At the chair's pleasure, may we take them one at a time?
I think, just for clarity, yeah, there's a few and we'll take them one at a time if you wanted to just do that.
The
You
first,
could do a high level thing of what we're doing and then we'll hit each individual policy.
thanks. So the first change staff is requesting is to add the newly created Historical and Civics Endowment account to the existing Historical Society investment policy statement. And so you might recall that the Historical Society has numerous sub-accounts. As in conjunction with the construction of the new building, there was a supply of additional donations, donor restricted, permanent accounts. And so the Historical Society has requested that new account.
That was extra funding after the contract.
So, and then again on the high level on STIP and then we'll hit the policy.
Okay, and on STIP, we're asking for the ability to lend securities for STIP, just as we do in the other pools and accounts.
And so just for a question, my favorite one about risk, I want to address the risk of that, how little it is. Or
For STIP, the risk is a slight risk to temporary liquidity. So for when we lend these securities, and we're only going to lend treasuries, the borrower posts collateral to State Street. If the borrower doesn't return our security, then State Street fronts us the money until they collect from the borrower. And if they're not able to collect the lent security, then they claim the collateral. And so, there's a possibility for that to get gummed up for a day. Probably unlikely, but possibly. And so we have, over the past couple of years, instituted several additional liquidity vehicles in STIP that would outweigh that by far.
John, could you explain the context for these kind of loans or whatever they are? I don't understand what the mechanisms.
Right, so a borrower will often want to have treasury securities. They'll want it to post as collateral. They'll want it as safety and liquidity on their balance sheets. And so instead of going out and buying those, they'll borrow them. Occasionally, they'll want to hedge or take an active bet on the direction of interest rates, though with T-bills that would be unlikely. And so that's where the demand comes from. And so we're through State Street supplying that demand.
But why would they borrow them as opposed to buy them? That's what I'm not understanding.
Any number of reasons, but lack of cash is certainly a likely reason.
Okay.
Mark?
If I look at the statement, the only change I see to the statement is on the last page, on page 6, correct?
Correct, where we just strike not.
Okay, and when you say it's limited to the treasuries that are held in STIP, right? That's what you said?
That's the parameter that we're currently going to put on.
Okay, but that's not listed in this IPS.
Correct, Mark.
Okay, so that's a limitation that's not within this. If you're saying it's gonna be limited to treasuries, it's not required in this.
So the policy statement we're asking for is to allow us to do this. What we're saying from a staff perspective under the delegated authorities, we're only comfortable going there with treasuries.
Okay.
So staff,
Like
Mark,
we're
that
not
would be the
putting
same as
this-
any other account that we have right now. So we have, SEC lending open for all of the other accounts
Right.
essentially.
Right.
And it's a staff decision as to whether or not we lend
So all of our
specific
policy
securities.
statements that allow SAC lending, it doesn't limit what
Does not limit it.
instruments that, okay,
That's correct.
okay. How much do we have in treasuries in this step?
Maybe Kirsten's online and can give us that figure, but
Or
in
what
the,
percentage of
in the $1
it?
billion
We've
range.
got about 900 million right now. I checked a
900.
day or two ago, about
900.
900 million in STIP
Of the 7
of
billion,
the 7.6 billion that's in STIP.
and that's the only instrument that we're going to allow for the SAC lending.
Correct.
And honestly, Mark, a big part of that is the demand. There's no demand for commercial paper lending and those sorts of things. The demand is all on T-bills.
Okay.
You got a question?
No, I don't.
Any other questions? If not, I'll just kind of go through these policy numbers. First one in my book anyway is policy number 40-926 on the Historical Society Trust Funds. Is there a motion to approve that policy?
Also move.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Moved and seconded. Questions or comments? If not, we'll vote on that. All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? The same sign. Hearing none, that's approved unanimously. The next one in my book is policy number 40-6, short-term investment pool statement. Is there a motion to approve that?
So moved.
Is there a second?
A second.
Moved and seconded. Questions or comments? If not, call for a vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Same sign. Hearing none, that's approved unanimously. Next one is policy statement 40-9, separate managed accounts. Investment policy statement. This is not an update, but really a new one. Is there any additional comments you'd like to make on that, John, or anything?
That's just the adding the new historical society
That
to the list.
to the
She
list.
said it
Right,
was-
Sorry,
Yeah.
sorry, Mr. Chairman. Yes, that's just
Okay.
housekeeping to add that name to the list.
So again, that's housekeeping. Is there a motion to approve that policy?
So moved.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Moved and second. Questions or comments? Hearing none, we'll call for vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Same sign. Hearing none, that's approved unanimously. And the next and last one, I think, is policy number 40-95. Investment objectives and guidelines for the infrastructure revolving loan fund.
Wait a minute.
No,
Oh,
I'm
I
confused.
don't know what you're looking at.
okay. Let me show you my book and I'll tell you what I'm looking at.
This was from the last meeting.
Oh, okay, so that one we've already done.
We've already done all of these, so we're good to go.
We're good?
Yep.
Oh, I was just getting on a roll for voting.
No, you
Yes, you were. When do we vote for lunch is when I'm.
Mr. Chairman, Cindy here, was that, I think you said policy 40-6, was that supposed to be 40-600?
Yes, it was.
Yep.
Sorry.
Just for clarification, thank you.
Good catch.
But those were approved last meeting?
No, they're in the front of our books, the ones that Jack was seeing, because
Right,
he
okay.
probably put them in his book.
Yep.
Yeah, I just put them in my book.
Those were adopted. Those are the ones from the last.
I just wanted to make sure we've got all of them adopted that we need to.
Yep.
Yep.
Dan is not calling an additional meeting or something.
No, I only need one more and then you can have the rest of the year off.
All right. So any questions on that policy stuff? Thanks for all your votes. The next thing we're gonna do is tab 6, asset allocation range. We've discussed this before, but it is, at least in my mind, one of the main things that the board does each year. We spend a lot of time on it. And so, John, I'll turn it over to you, I think, or Dan, do you want to say anything?
Do you have anything? The only thing
We spoke about this last board meeting. As you will recall, we have over the last several years kind of brought the asset allocation, given the implications, as Jack noted, of, being a very important thing for the board to take a look at. So we've split that into 2 meetings to give you an opportunity to, have me present and then think about it. So I covered the presentation in October. I'm happy to answer any additional questions. As you recall, I'm not making any recommendations for any changes to the current asset allocation ranges. And so given that, simply would just ask to have you affirm those asset allocation ranges, given that our policy says that you look at that annually and either affirm or deny any changes, but asking for status quo at this point.
Okay, Dan?
Only question I'd have for the board. So we are now in the 5-year anniversary of the December decimation, which was when our prior member of staff decided to exercise broad authority and sold $1 billion in public equities and told you about it as it was in process, and that did not go over well, as one would imagine. We then broke part of our process we built in is, okay, we're gonna have these asset allocation conversations over several meetings because we had to undo some things that had taken place prior, and there were some relatively large moves that needed to be done to get there. We're done with those. I think John and I would agree that we're in a good place as the recommendation before you of no change affirms on a go-forward basis, barring giant market activities that we'd be talking about with you throughout the course of the year. We don't anticipate those sort of big, broad moves of going from 10% cash to 2% cash. So the question for the board is, and not anything I need an answer to today, but is this meritorious of 2 conversations? Is it a 1 conversation item? I just put that in front of you for guidance over the course of the next year, but we'll build the agenda how you want to see it.
For me personally, Dan, I think if there are no recommendations to change the current asset allocation, it can be handled in 1 meeting. But if there are changes that we really need to discuss further or take a look at, I think it makes sense to do it in 2 meetings. So, I mean, that's probably not what you were looking for.
Well, I think it's important that we spend the time that's necessary on this. I think especially when we first start with a bunch of new board members, it probably is worth 2 meetings. As we get into it and familiar with some of the things, especially if there isn't a lot of changes, maybe 1. But I think we'll just look at it as it comes and do that. Again, this is broad, strategic, not tactical. We're not trying to do tactical things. And so it's important. So this is an important decision. And so I'll take a motion to approve.
Can I ask one question?
Yes, Mark.
So, and I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman, but this portion of the meeting last time I didn't attend, I had to cut out early, but RBK is on board with maintaining current asset allocation.
We are.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Since Paige is here, could I just ask, not just the top level approval, but do you think our process works and the way we did this? I know we spent some time in Boise on this and things. Could you just talk a minute to assure the board that based on your expertise that we're doing things right?
Sure. Yeah, we think it's a really good process that you have in place, having the opportunity to sit down with staff individually and have them bring their ideas to the board. And then also loop in your consulting team and then research professionals from our side. Gives us the opportunity to just explore a lot of different options, kind of hear other ideas, and then ultimately have that conversation and be bringing forward our best collaborated opinion to the board for your review and your approval. I do think it's a good process to go through this every year, even if you're not ultimately going to be making a decision to change. Capital markets change all the time, and expectations evolve rapidly. So it's a good process for the board to be reviewing this on an annual basis as well.
Yeah, this is Jim. If I could say that I agree with everything that my colleague Paige said. We also think that the board needs to appreciate or should appreciate that the process actually begins with staff and RVK even before anything comes to the board in an initial meeting. So it stretches back even further. We would tend to agree with what the chair said, which is particularly when there are new board members or board members who want to refresh their understanding of the single biggest driver of both risk and reward and return in the portfolio, which is asset allocation, that we adhere to the two-step meeting, even if the first step is only a reminder of why asset allocation is so important. But the process, as my colleague Paige said, is working very well because the collaboration between your delegated authority, which is your staff, and ourselves, which we work for you, has actually been working quite well and continues to do so. And I think that you got a sense of that for those trustees that came to visit us in Boise for the full day of education. So I'll stop there.
Okay. Any additional comments or questions or anything?
Just for clarification, you guys have went through this with the staff and looked at whether anything needed to be changed.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, so just a little background for maybe those who haven't heard the process before. So we do all of the asset allocation modeling in RVK's framework. So John and his team will send over some ideas they want to look at. We'll then run everything through our software using our long-term capital market assumptions. And then we'll sit down and review everything together.
Thanks.
Of course.
Okay. So I'll call for a motion to reaffirm our asset allocation strategy.
Mr. Chair, I would move that we keep the current asset allocation as recommended by our CIO, staff, and consultant.
Okay. Is there a second?
I'll second, Mr. Chair.
Okay, moved and second. Any additional comments or questions? If not, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Those opposed, same sign. Hearing no opposition, is approved unanimously. Okay, Dan, what else do we need to do?
All right, well, TRS is early, thank you. I think what we'll do is maybe break for, call it 20 minutes to get food and resettle before we invite TERS and PERS to visit. But if I could get Cindy and Porter and Jeff to stay on the Zoom for a moment. I have just an administrative issue to work through with you, but everyone else can break and go grab lunch.